things are going to get a little more complicated this time because we're dealing with fractions, unfortunately. And you'll see what I'm talking about. The worst thing that can happen is you'll see in the second example what happens if b is an odd number. And even worse, what happens if you factor out the 2 and you get a fraction. So first let's talk about what happens if there's a number in the very front. So what you're going to have to do with that, and if it was even just negative, it's just a negative number in the front, or just -1, you're going to have to factor it out. So what happens when we factor? We have to divide. So I'm going to divide each of these by 4. So now it's just going to look more confusing because guess what? There's going to be parentheses around it the whole time, but just kind of ignore those parentheses. Focus on the inside. We're going to complete this square on the inside now. So what we normally do, well, we would look at b, which is -4. Divide that by 2, right? It's -2 times -2 is +4. So that's the magic number this time. So we're going to have x squared minus 4x. I'm just looking at the inside. I'm ignoring everything else that's going on. Plus 4 minus 4, and then we have that plus 7 over 4. Kind of irritating that that's there. Why did we do that? Because this is the perfect square. It factors down to x minus 2 squared. Because remember, those are the two factors, x minus 2 and x minus 2. But now we got to deal with this fraction. So we have -4 plus 7/4. So picture that 4 is 4 over 1. So we got to get a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply it by 4 over 4 to get -16 over 4 plus 7 over 4. -16 plus 7 is -9 over 4. Okay, that's great. But what happened with that 4 in the beginning, remember? So you can kind of picture, and we'll use brackets instead, that 4 has been in front this entire time. Don't forget that. And I'm using brackets because within the brackets we already have parentheses. So it's just like a different type of set of parentheses. All right, so we're not done yet. We got to distribute the 4 because look, this is not an option there. So we distribute the 4 there and also to there. So we'll have 4 times x minus 2 squared minus 9. 9 over 4 times 4 is just going to be 36 over 4, which is 9. So your answer would be a 4 here, -2 there, and a -9 there. So hardest part about that, probably adding those fractions. And like I said, I would ignore that 4 to the very end, but don't forget about it. That was a mistake I made today in calculus, and it turned out horrible. All right, let's look at this one. This is the worst case that you can run into. So what we're going to do, we got to factor out the 2. All right, so we're on the right track here. Got our 2 factored out, so I just divided everything by that 2. But now we have to figure out what our magic number is. So -3 over 2 is b. So we got to divide that by 2, so that's kind of crazy. So we're going to take a half of that, right? 1/2 times 3 over 2, isn't that just 3 over 4? So -3 over 4 and -3 over 4. Those are going to be our 2 numbers there. We got to multiply them to figure it out, right? 3 times 3 is 9. Over 4 times 4 is 16. Negative times negative is positive. You'll notice that number is always positive. So we're going to have x squared minus 3 over 2x plus 9 over 16. Almost got the wrong thing there. Minus 9 over 16. Minus 5 over 2. And like I said, we'll worry about that 2 later. So this is our perfect square. And what's nice is we already see our factor here is x minus 3 over 4. And then we need a common denominator for this. So we'll have negative 9 over 16. And then multiply it by 8 minus 40 over 16. To get us negative 49 over 16 with the x minus 3 over 4 squared. Don't forget there was that 2 in the front. So let's distribute that 2 back. And actually in this case, because we're going to be solving and we got the equals 0, we could actually divide the 2 out. But I'm going to make a habit of distributing that 2 back because that's the way we've been doing it. And then 2 over 16, just simplify that denominator to an 8 there. Then we'll add the 49 over 8 to the other side. Got to be one of the worst things we're going to do this year, I'm telling you. And then we're going to multiply by 1/2, because notice there's no option to put a number in front of the parentheses. So we're going to get rid of that 2 by multiplying by 1/2. I mean, we could say divide by 2, but it actually works out a little better in this situation to say that we multiply by 1/2. And for 8 times 2 is 16. And there you go. So we don't have to continue solving. That would be it right there.